So, Dan, in your many, 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 many years on this planet,
How are you calling me old?
so as I was saying, in your many, many years on this planet, what is the biggest mistake you have ever made?
Well, besides doing this webinar, the uh, this was a very long time ago. Not many people know Citrix and then I static. So we did this.
Not
So
bad, but listen to this. So,
oh wow. So um, okay, now see, I completely lost my train of thought because that was better than mine. Um, so in one of the other, I can't get back on track because that was really funny. So in the other one, we talked about in the other security session, we talked about this whole Verizon data breach investigation report. And the person who got us into looking at this was Martin, who's one of our security experts. And we're going to bring him in to talk about mistakes and the impact that a mistake can have on your environment. So welcome, Martin.
Hi everyone, how are you doing today?
good. How
Good.
are you?
So
Okay, so
I'd like to do a little intro of yourself and your expertise.
of course. So my name is Martin Zuzek. I'm senior architect working for the technical marketing team. I'm mostly working on the Citrix optimizer and the older brother of the TechZone Live, the original TechZone itself. And I've been always big fan of IT security for many, many years. So that's kind of something that I always enjoyed doing, and I was always very interested in pretty much everything security related.
That's awesome. And I guess before you start, Martin, I see you have a good and an evil. And so between Dan and I, do I want to know? So which one is the good and which one is the evil?
I will let you decide, but yeah, we all know Dan, so the answer is obvious, I guess, to all of us here.
Uh,
Payback.
I know it's coming. So, ready to talk about the good and evil?
Yes.
yes, we are.
Awesome. So, let's get this show started. And uh, I would like to start by today we are going to talk about insiders, which is always very good topic, and especially now after year 2020. So the year 2020, it's the year of working from home, and what we've seen, one of the big security trends is insiders threat and insider security breaches are on the rise. And the reason why is the very common motivation behind insiders attacks, it's the crash, fear, and what we've been seeing last year, a lot of people have been afraid of losing the job. So they try to steal the data to kind of have something against their employers. A lot of people lost the job, so they have been feeling the grudge against the company. They've been trying to find a way how they could actually kind of pay back to decision that was often really hard to make. And finally, the very big motivation that we are seeing is convenience. So what we've been seeing is that many companies had to quickly switch to work from home. The security was just quickly kind of hacked together. Very often, the security controls that companies implemented had like direct impact on productivity, and it was very hard for some employees to keep being productive with all the new security controls and security policies that are in place. So what was of course happening is people have been trying to find the ways how to bypass the security controls, and very often the result was security incident or security breach. And very important thing, and I will talk about this a bit later, all the enterprises need to find the really good balance between security and productivity. So when you are trying to implement the security controls, and at the end your employees cannot really do their job, they are going to find a way how to bypass it. They are going to find a way how to disable the security controls that you have. And this is very important because when we talk about insiders, most people are going to think, yeah, that is someone who wants to damage the company. He's going to steal the data. He's going to sell it to some spies, for example. Reality is different. Reality is that almost all the insiders attacks that we are seeing, they are not really attacks. They are not malicious. They are accidents. They are, for example, insider that thought like, okay, I'm going to forward all these emails to my private email so I can work on them from home. Or insider that decides like, I'm just going to copy this data and send it to my friend because it might be interesting for him. One of the most common insider security incidents that we are seeing is, for example, in healthcare, someone looking at the data that they shouldn't be looking at. But all of these are, they are not malicious actions. They are, again, accidents, or they are pretty much the misuse, but they are not really, it's not that the insiders mean any harm. So now we are going to talk about few different policies or few different approaches that you can do. Of course, the first one is always going to be education of the end users. And why I was talking about the unintentional insiders is we have to teach the end users that's not really the most common security breach or security incident. We have to explain to them it's often accident, it's often bypassing the security, even though you don't mean any harm, the end result can be really damaging for your company. Now, let me ask you one question. We've all seen like the US Secret Service agents. Have you noticed the earpiece that they have, the little foil clearly visible on the side? When they turn the head, you can really see that they are talking to someone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you think it is because they are still using the same technology that was being used like 40 years ago, or why is it so clearly visible? Any
So that you
ideas?
know that they're Secret Service agents. I don't know.
Yeah.
No idea.
So the reason why it is still the same old technology, it's modern technology, it just looks like old, is something that we called visible deterrent. So what you want to do is that you want to make sure that potential attackers can see that you have some security in place. For example, if someone would like to do something really stupid, uh, they are going to see the secret agents, they are going to turn back and walk away because they see the visible protection in front of them. And in IT, we can use the same, I would call it psychological security element. So what you want to make sure is that some of the security controls that you have are going to be visible because they are going to prevent insiders from doing stupid things. The best example that I like to use, session recording. If, for example, your employees know that when they access the highly sensitive data, everything they do is being recorded, they will think twice about doing something that can be really damaging because they are going to leave the clear trace behind. Another really good example, watermarking. And there are other controls that you can use where you are pretty much going to show that this environment is secure. There are some security controls in place, and whoever is accessing this data or application should think twice before doing something wrong. So
We're kind of, one of the examples, just kind of everyday life is, let's say in the middle of the night, you're driving, you come up to a stoplight that's red and no one's around. Do you go through it? Instead of waiting for it to cycle through. It's like 20 years ago, there's probably low risk of getting caught, but now where most city intersections have cameras that'll catch the red light runners. So it's like, yeah, I probably shouldn't do this because there's a fine coming. So it's one way to deter you from breaking the law.
that's a really good example, and I will make it even better because some of those security cameras, I'm not sure if in US, but in Europe, they are actually fake. They are there just to be like a visible element that will cause you to stop on the red light, even though these cameras are not really functional. So thank you. That's a really good point. So let me talk about a couple of other. Let me talk about a couple of these visible security controls that we have, and I will talk about a potential insider threat. We are going to call him Mr. DG, and Mr. DG is living up north. It's very cold, very dark. He cannot go on his bike. He's getting depressed. He's holding the crutch against everyone. I imagine cringe. And what we are going to do is that we are going to provide him with access to all the working tools and the Citrix workspace that we need. So first thing that we are going to do is that we will put some restrictions in navigation and website filtering. So this is his job. He's going to see only what he needs. We are going to apply the principle of least privilege, or the need to know basis. So he just cannot browse the whole intranet. He's just going to get access to the SaaS or web applications that are required for his job. Next thing that we are going to do is that we are going to restrict what he can do. So we will prevent Mr. DG from printing and from downloading everything. Another really good example that I really like to use is the clipboard. For example, when we are talking about the virtual apps and desktops, the clipboard redirection is actually smarter than most people think. So for example, you can allow copy and paste of the data from your endpoint to virtual application, but prevent copy and paste the data from the virtual application to your endpoint. So that's really good because you can do one-way redirection, and you can also modify, for example, what kind of data can be transferred between here. Now we are talking about a visible deterrent, so we can add a little bit of watermark. When Mr.
Wait. How'd you get my screen? Wait, you've been talking about me?
Yes. So when Mr. DF is going to see his name on the screen, what's going to happen is that he will think twice before sharing the screenshot with someone. And he was sharing this. That's how I got the screenshot, by the way. So we can implement all these different visible elements that are going to prevent Mr. DF from like making something stupid. Instead, he's just going to wait for the spring when he can go back on the bike and just enjoy the weather. So it's very often the small things that are standing between insider just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And it's often very small things that where we can stop the disaster for the company. Now, another important thing is that for each visible security control that we have, we also want to have invisible protection layers, ideally multiple of them. The zero trust here is critical. We don't want to rely on the perimeter security. We really want to have security everywhere. Never trust any endpoint, any user, never trust any applications. So really, the zero trust is important change in how we think about security. It's not a new concept. We've been pushing this for many, many years. I'm just happy that this is becoming more mainstream thinking recently. So a couple of examples of this invisible controls. I really, really like the keylogging. This is not something that is going to really help directly with the unintentional insider, but it is something that can prevent, for example, the hybrid attacks where it's external plus internal actors playing or trying to cause the security breach. The really good example of insiders is the restriction of the screen sharing. And we just came out from the year 2020. The most common sentences, I think all of us have heard this a lot. Am I on mute? And do you see my screen? And way too many times, and I've seen it like in person, I've seen it many times last year, someone accidentally sharing the wrong screen. Someone sharing the email instead of the presentation, someone in the middle of presentation, there is like pop-up with some sensitive information or the message. Now, what we are doing with app protection policies is we can mark some applications as sensitive. And what you are seeing on the screen right now, this is what is going to happen. If you accidentally share this sensitive data, everyone else, all the other attendees, they are just going to see the black screen instead of seeing the sensitive data. So this is the anti-screen sharing on app protection policies. Another really good example, this technology also prevents you from taking the screenshots. So for example, if you have insider that would like to take a screenshot of sensitive data and save it somewhere, the resulting screenshot is just going to be black. Nothing is going to be visible on the screen. So let's just wait for this sensitive application to launch. And what you are going to see is that this is also going to be on attendees view. This is going to be completely like nothing is going to be recorded. Also because we have the anti-keylogging, all the passwords that have been typing would not be visible even if this endpoint has been infected. So that's the app protection policies. And now finally, one of the best things that you can do when you are trying to detect the insiders at your company, almost always there is something that we call behavior anomaly. People will start acting differently. They will suddenly, like one of the most common thing that is going to happen, they will start looking around and trying to download and gather sensitive documents. They will start uploading them, for example, on OneDrive share file. The thing that we've seen, by the way, very common is very often the file sharing services that you are using, they will try to use official company file sharing services to download this data. So what we always recommend, like one of the best method that is available to us is user behavior analytics. So pretty much looking at what is typical behavior of these end users, what's going to happen, did his behavior change, did he start to upload a lot of sensitive data, did he start to accessing really sensitive documents that you have. So for that, we are using Citrix Analytics, where we look at the data from the endpoint, application, data, pretty much everything you can think of. And because we are talking about the insider threat today, there is actually insider threat dashboard that we have available in the Citrix Analytics, where you can pretty much every single day have a quick look, find out what's happening. If there is anything suspicious, you can add the user to the watch list, or you can use SIM integration where all this data is integrated with the Splunk or whatever SIM system you are using today.
Well, Martin, we really appreciate your time like always. That was an awesome demo. And I like you said, I think security should be top of mind, and it's not just I think a lot of people think most users are malicious when you think about an attack, and what they don't realize is a lot of time is these unintentional things that are happening that can be easily prevented. So, thanks so much for coming on Tech Zone Live, and it's always great to talking to you.
Thank you very much for having me.